going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Pod Street Bullies. My name is Derek.
And I am John. What's going on, everybody?
And as always, we are joined by producer extraordinaire, Mr. Nat Marlowe.
Take two, gentlemen. How are we doing today? Got through the technical problems with take one.
I was doing a lot better before this second take, but
Yeah,
I was really worried. I was going to mess up my lines.
Don't worry. I'll let it the first take together. Don't you worry about that.
All right. Okay.
John's running on about 10 hours of sleep all week put together, so we're going to have to hold him up a little bit. We've been feeding him lines. We have a script typed out in Google Docs that he's going to try and follow if he can't, keep from falling asleep.
I'm so tired. I got to the point this morning when my kid was talking to me. I thought I was responding to her, and then she goes to me, "Daddy, why aren't you talking to me?" Because I was saying the words in my head, but they weren't getting out.
She should be able to read your mind by now, though, to be fair.
You're right. I mean, I'm sure she can. Right. And I'm sure she wants to leave. Before we go any further, though, I do have a funny story about my kid that I think you're going to chuckle about. So she goes through these stages of naming things the same thing over and over again. So, like, for a while, it was Fifi. Everything was Fifi. She has a doll named Fifi. Any squirrel that came by, his name was Fifi. She's decided to change the name a little bit for this new doll she has. It's a descendant of Fifi. I said, "Reagan, what's your doll's name?" "Fifi." I said, "Cece?" She goes, "Fifi, Daddy." I said, "Oh, you say it's Cece?" "Nope. Fifi." She's calling the doll Fifi.
Oh,
so you might as well just call the doll Poop. I don't know what you do with that, right? I mean, just like send her to a thesaurus. Like, let's look up different words for Fifi. Oh, poop, dump, crap. Are you sure you want to call it this? So yeah, we've got a new child here at the Gove house. Fifi Gove.
Fifi Gove. That's got a ring to it. I like that.
I know, right? Just the things that kids say sometimes, and it's so innocent and sweet. She's like, "Daddy, we forgot to put Fifi to sleep." Be like, "Yeah, that's what happens when Daddy eats Taco Bell. You can't put Fifi to sleep."
That was clever. That was very clever.
I know, but that's my one for today.
This is like the weekly segment where we remind Nat that having kids really isn't all it's cracked up to be.
You're really reassuring me that I want kids here, guys. You're doing a tremendous job.
Yes, kids are a joy to have.
Love them.
Well,
should we talk about?
Yes, let's talk about hockey before I say something stupid.
All right.
Yes, we have a few things here to touch on with the Flyers. Just some minor news. We have Linus Sandin, according to whoever fixed the Google Doc here, because I was saying Linus like the Peanuts.
Well,
he is returning. That was not me.
Look at you. I thought you were getting official with the pronunciation helpers.
That was Nat, I believe.
Yes,
there's
sir.
only one other person that has access. Damn, Nat. Impressive, my friend. You're getting a raise.
Oh, raise from free? Okay, what's my first paycheck then?
Free plus.
Yes, we'll tag you in all of our tweets.
There you
go. But Linus Sandin is going to be returning, or has returned to my knowledge, from his loan to HV71 in Sweden over in the SHL. This move, the opposite of what happened with Raffl. Raffl is still over there in Austria playing hockey. What does a type of move like this mean? Is it indicative of anything for the Flyers? Are we looking at, is he a shoo-in to make the Flyers, or is this, just kind of meh?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on how you look at it. If you look at the offseason, right, we signed Sandin. He wasn't drafted by the Flyers. He wasn't drafted by anybody. He was kind of one of the hot undrafted free agents over in Europe this year because of his goal scoring ability. If you look at what he's been able to do, he had 16 goals in 50 games in 2018, 19 goals in 2019. So the Flyers signed this guy with the hopes of getting him involved on the NHL roster. They wouldn't have signed him if they didn't feel like that was a possibility. I do think there's a lot of other players that he's got to battle with in order to actually get a roster spot. but he's coming back over to compete for a roster spot for sure.
Competition breeds success. I think having another guy in the mix, especially for a bottom six role, which is, I'm assuming, what they're looking at him as, it's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, definitely he fits in the bottom six, but they bring him, they signed him because he can score. So they're hoping that he can probably play on the third line, I would imagine, to just provide a little extra on the goal side. That being said, though, if you just take a quick look at his numbers, he's been pretty streaky. He has 4 goals in 20 games this year. 2 of them are in one game, and then the other 2, I think, were in consecutive games, like further on down, earlier in the season. So I don't know. You know me, I tend to be more of a pessimist than an optimist with absolutely everything. So I think that I'm not somebody who's going to be like, this guy's going to come in here and change the makeup of the Flyers and make them a better team.
I know a few guys that might think that, but you're right. I mean, this isn't a move we're looking at thinking, holy crap, this is revolutionary. Like, I can't believe we got this guy and nobody else picked him up. Like, there's a reason he was available when he came to the Flyers. Now, Nat didn't put in the pronunciation for this guy, but I'm assuming it's Rasmus Sandin. Rasmus, is that how you pronounce his first name?
I believe so, yes.
Rasmus Sandin is Linus Sandin's brother. He plays for the Maple Leafs, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So, it's nice to see another set of brothers in the league. I think if we're going to go back to the Flyers here, again, it's competition because there's a few names we could throw out there that we'll probably end up getting to eventually where we discuss it in depth. There's going to be a lot of competition because there's only 6 spots in that bottom 6, obviously. So adding another name to it, I think that's a good thing. We'll see what he's got. They test his mettle, and we'll see if he's going to be worth a spot on the NHL roster.
Right, and at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. It's not like they're paying this guy a ton of money. At least
exactly.
I don't think so. Anyway.
No. How about you, Nat? What do you think about this move?
So I took a look at Linus Sandin's highlights, not from this year, but the year before, and I think it goes back to Flyers Realism 101 and not overvaluing prospects because, John, you're right. He is a bottom 6 guy if he does make it to the NHL, but I think the Flyers would be lucky if he even becomes a bottom 6 guy because Linus Sandin contributes and scores in one of 2 ways. He has his office, like the Ovechkin office, where he has literally all the time in the world to shoot and absolutely no one is covering him, or he gets in super close to the front of the net, always has to fight with one or two defenders in front of him to get the puck in. I really like that about him because he never quits on the play. Never quits. And he shows that strength that he is able to put the puck in the back of the net against other professional hockey players like that, but they're not NHL caliber players. So to me, he's not going to be able to score like that at the NHL level. He's not going to have that open space. And if he is going to get in close, he's going to face up against better goaltenders, better defenders. He's going to have to fight a lot harder in order to contribute at that level. But I kind of want to see, how are you going to be able to, or how is Linus Sandin going to be able to shoot and score when, you have a minimal amount of time and space? Because he can certainly get it at the NHL level. It's just not going to be all or none. He's going to have a minimal amount.
Makes sense. I mean, again, you're not expecting this guy to be a world beater, but you're expecting him to, at the very least, contribute successfully in a third line role, possibly fourth.
Yeah, I mean, and just to kind of piggyback off what Nat said, when you're kind of a 2-trick pony at a different level, it doesn't really help your chances as far as being a consistent point producer at the NHL level.
Very fair. Very fair.
All right.
Well, our second bit of Flyers news here, we have an ELC that's been signed. Saginaw Spirit defenseman Mason Millman has signed his entry-level deal with the Flyers. This move, I really do not know what to make of it. I can be completely honest. I mean, I thought this guy would end up probably playing out his time down in the in juniors, but
well, Derek, hold on really quick,
still
buddy.
can.
Yeah, he he has to unless he makes the NHL.
That's true. Okay. So, but at the same rate, I mean, what's the point in signing him now as opposed to waiting out those, what is it, another year or so down in the CHL?
I mean, listen, you could definitely go that route, but the route that they went with Mason Millman is not uncommon. I mean, if you take a look at a lot of players, I don't know. Well, I know why his name is escaping me is because I don't have any sleep. But the 4th round pick Zayd Wisdom, we've already signed him to his ELC.
I think that was for different circumstances, though, if I'm not mistaken, because of the story with Zayd Wisdom and how he came up through. I think that was kind of more of a. I obviously want to tiptoe around this. It's more of a goodwill gesture, but not that he didn't earn it.
Sure. No, I completely understand where you're coming from. And I think that, honestly, Derek, they're all goodwill gestures. It's like, you know what? I don't want you to worry about being a part of this organization. We value what you can bring to the table enough to invest in you right now. And although circumstances are different, it's kind of the same thing with Mason Millman. They like what he's been able to do. You know, they like how much he's been able to improve over 2 years. You know, he went from 25 points to 44 points the next year on a pretty darn offensively explosive Saginaw team. But, you know, he's still putting up 44 points. But what it truly means, Derek, is just that, hey, you know what? We like the direction that you're moving in. Let's just give you this sense of security so you can just focus on your game.
Okay, and it's another weight off his shoulders. Maybe this is them saying, hey, all right, man, the trailer's unhitched. It's time for you to go and really see what he can do, because there was that pressure of earning an ELC. There always is with draft picks. So maybe this is the Flyers saying now is when you really need to show us what you're made of.
Right. You know, and I think some people just really want this guy to be the diamond in the rough. Like, I felt like when he was drafted, people were ready to just be like, oh, this is the one that I'm going to say, you know, is the hidden gem. You know, he was the hidden gem of 2019. So people are really hoping that he's going to become a top 4 guy. I do think he's got some offensive capabilities, but it's like, let's wait a little bit. I mean, he's played 2 years in the OHL. And guess what, boys and girls? He hasn't played competitive hockey in almost a year. Like, we keep forgetting that they haven't had a chance to continue their development in the way they typically would, and we have no idea what that's going to do.
Yeah. These big layoffs, we saw it last season just with the way the Flyers were playing before the layoff happened. Playing incredible, and then the playoffs hit. They round robin was great, but then, you know, they came out flat against Montreal, arguably, and then even worse against the Islanders.
Yeah.
You know,
so
layoffs hurt.
Yeah. So, I mean, good for him. I'm glad that he's, you know, a part of the organization. I do think that there is something intriguing about him, but let's just wait and see.
How about you, Nat? What are you thinking about this move?
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. Let's wait and see. I'm actually on the more optimistic side of signing him, because apparently he's supposed to be one of the biggest sleeper hits, not just for the Flyers, but amongst all prospects, especially defensemen, coming from the CHL right now. Jordan Hall actually wrote an article on NBC Sports Philadelphia about him, and what Jordan says about him, he says he is a smooth skater who pushes the puck with speed and controlled pace. Defensively, he's smart in his own end and getting stronger. And then here's what his head coach, Dave Drinkel, said about him. I really believe he can become one of the best defensemen in the OHL, if not the CHL. His ability to transport pucks either with his feet or with his head and brain, they're elite at our level. And I'm betting that if he keeps developing and gets into the Flyers system, he's going to keep becoming an elite defenseman that way. Now, that's coming from his head coach. You know, of course, your head coach is going to say great things about you if you're doing great things for your team. I mean, it's just human nature to do that. I mean, he's playing for Saginaw. He's not playing for the Philadelphia Flyers yet. I'm hoping he's one of the biggest dark horses right now. I'd rather have him be underestimated, and I'd rather have him turn into a great NHL player, someone who can fill, I don't know, that third pair defenseman role, because I think that is his potential. But, I mean, John, you said this a couple episodes ago. You know, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of prospects, and very few of them get to play in the NHL. very few, and even fewer stay in the NHL. So I'm happy for Millman, but I'm also cautious about him at the same time. Do we want him to be that next defenseman to make it in the NHL? Perhaps yes. I want him to be that dark horse guy. I want him to be that sleeper hit that Jordan Hall and his head coach is saying that he is. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Another prospect that we have to keep our eyes on, but not overvalue.
Before we put Millman to bed, I just also want to say I find it really hard personally to go and make somebody a dark horse after one season after his draft year.
Yes.
Especially when you've got people like Cole Perfetti on your team. So it's promising, but I just worry about getting too committed to something like that after just 1 year. You never know what the next year is going to look like.
It'd be different if we were looking at it right now and he's playing, and let's say he's played 20 games and he's got 12 to 15 points. Okay, that's impressive. It's a good follow-up to the season that he had last season. And we're also talking about a guy that when he was playing in the Greater Ontario Junior Hockey League, he was the most outstanding first-year defenseman in his rookie year. Made the rookie all-star team that year as well. So, yeah, there's promise there. I mean, he's adjusted to the CHL pretty well. And, but the NHL is a different beast, obviously. Right. We've said this a million times. So that success could translate. It couldn't translate. At the end of the day, you spent, a fourth round pick on this guy. So if it works out, fantastic. If it doesn't, it's like, maybe we missed out on a fourth round pick. But at the end of the day, again, it's a fourth round pick. It's not like a Yerman Rupstov like John mentioned last week.
Yep.
And sticking with prospects, we have a Christmas treat. The World Junior Championships are coming up starting on Christmas Day. And I, for one, am excited. I got excited last year for the first time ever just because when John and I paired up, he was the prospect guy, and he's telling me all these things like, dude, you can't, it's going to be incredible. You need to watch this. I got involved in it. I was loving it. So now when it came around again, I was like, oh, and it starts on Christmas.
Right.
So I'm excited. I mean, for obvious reasons. We have a trio of prospects that are taking part for their respective countries. John's going to kind of give us a primer. Obviously, we're going to all pitch in here as well. But these three prospects, the teams they're playing for, what to expect, and we'll go from there. So take it away here. Tell us about these guys that we're going to be watching for the Flyers.
First of all, this is hands down my favorite hockey tournament at any level, even the professional level. I get so into this. This is what I look forward to every year. This year is going to be very different, obviously, just like everything else. They're already running into so many obstacles with getting people here with COVID. I think it was Germany. There were a bunch of players that tested positive when they finally got to Edmonton. 4 teams, they were delayed and all had to take the same plane together, so we have to keep in mind that we can analyze the talent on any team, but COVID, if it rears its ugly head, could just change the way this tournament, winds up. That being said, the Flyers do have 3 pretty good prospects to really good prospects representing 2 countries. The first 2 are in Team USA. You've got Cam York and you've got Bobby Brink. And then you've got Emil Andre for Team Sweden. I think the best place to start is kind of Team USA because those are the 2 guys that I'm personally looking forward to watching the most. I mean, 2 out of 3, I know, right? But
ain't bad.
If you look first at I want to start at the defense because Team USA's defense is not very deep. Cam York is going from the 7th defenseman last year to the top defenseman this year. He's going to be relied upon. I mean, I feel like in every role, he's going to be your top pairing D guy. He's going to be a part of the power play. I'm really hoping that he spends a little bit of time with the 5th overall pick from this year, Jake Sanderson. It'll be really interesting to see if those 2 could play together. But this is going to be our opportunity to see Cam York in a role where he has to be excellent. You know, Team USA is counting on him to carry this defense. He has to carry this defense in order for them to succeed. So it'll be interesting to see how he responds to that. You know, it's a lot different than Michigan. You know, Michigan is not, they're a great team, but they're not really showing that in their record. They're full of talent. He's got a little bit less to work with on the blue line this time around. So it'll be interesting with him.
I'm definitely looking forward to seeing Cam York. I mean, this is the guy that a lot of us have deemed one of our top prospects, if not the top prospect in our system. So, you know, we're going to put a lot of stock into what we see out of him when it comes to the World Junior Championships, and thriving in a role in which some people deem him to be a top line or top pairing type guy. Some people, you know, seeing him thrive in that type of role is extremely encouraging. If he doesn't thrive in that type of role and the team suffers and he isn't playing up to what we think he should be playing, it's going to be a little discouraging. You know, I'm not going to be devastated personally, right, but at the same rate, you know, it's not the best when your first round pick from a year or so ago is, you know, not playing the way he should be.
Well, and here's the thing though, but then maybe you just have to readjust what he should be playing at. You know, the level he should be playing at. You know, I mean, we'll have to see, because this is going to be telling, because he is going to be the number one guy here. And it'll be interesting to see what he does.
Yeah. Now, speaking of not number one guys, terrible segue. Let's get to Bobby Brink. Let's talk about some offense here for a second, because Bobby Brink should have been a first-round pick in a lot of our eyes. Ended up sliding to the second round. Chuck Fletcher traded up with Nashville, snagged him. What are we expecting to see out of him? Because we all know his role last year was more of a fourth line, sometimes third line guy. We're probably going to see a bit more of an expanded role for him in these championships.
It's so interesting, Derek, because with Team USA, where they lack in depth, they have on defense, they have so much depth on offense. And I think it becomes interesting on where exactly they're going to put Bobby Brink, because in order for us to see the Brink that we're hoping for, that we've seen at Denver, he needs to be in a top six role. I don't know if he's going to be able to be in a top six role with this team. You know, there's just so many great forwards where I wouldn't be shocked if he is placed on a third line, with the understanding that he could just move up and down the lineup if it's not working. I believe that he'll get some power play time. I just think that there's so much talent that it'll be hard to really see him gain the minutes that he might need in order to really tear it up.
I mean, I'm looking at the roster right now. You've still got guys like Turcotte, Arthur Kaliyev, Sam Colangelo, Cole Caulfield, Matthew Boldy, Trevor Zegras. I mean, Landon Slaggert, Patrick Moynihan. Like, you've got, wow, that's some quality depth. And I swear to God, I'm seeing Los Angeles Kings under half these guys, which makes me extremely jealous. Matthew Beignet, you know, another Michigan teammate of Cam York, is on there. He's eligible for next year's draft. You might be right. And, you know, again, my lack of knowledge when it comes to prospects was showing there for a second. But is it possible that we do see Brink in a top six role, considering he's been here before and he's played in these championships before?
Totally. Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, I just think that you could say that for like 3 or 4 guys. So
yeah,
you know, I think that's where the tough thing goes. I certainly could see him in the top 6. Hell, he might even make it on the top line. But you could also say that for a few others, where if the other ones are showing a little bit more in practices or in these exhibition games that are coming up. I actually believe that the USA is playing an exhibition game today. I don't think you can watch it on TV, but I believe they're playing an exhibition game today. I might be wrong. But it'll really all depend on what he does in these exhibition games, because I feel like they just have enough firepower where it'll be easy enough for them to be like, all right, next man up.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice to see from the perspective of, you know, someone who lives in the U.S., because obviously we want to have a good team.
Right.
That forward depth is something special. But the defensive depth, again, touching on your point previously mentioned here, little concerning.
Yeah.
Not concerned at all about the goalies. You know,
No.
Spencer Knight's still heading that. And then you've got Dustin Wolf and Logan Stein backing them up. Man,
and Dustin Wolf is no slouch, too. I mean, Dustin Wolf is phenomenal.
Another Everett boy, just like Carter Hart.
Yep.
Yeah, Everett turns out those goalies, man.
They really do.
Boy.
They really do.
So can we expect the U.S. then to make a run when we're looking at the pool that they're playing in, who they're up against, first off? And is this a gold medal team? Is this silver, bronze medal, or are they not placing at all?
So it's definitely a team for me that's in contention for a medal. I think it's really hard. When you look at these rosters, I'm having a hard time finding anybody who beats Canada for the gold medal. I just think that team is so stacked with talent where it's challenging. I think that when it comes to the pool that they're in, the biggest challenger will be Russia. Similar to the United States, where they lack is defense. Russians, coming up and coming Russian players, defense is not what they want to play. They all want to be Alexander Ovechkin. So defense is their weakest part. They are also very talented in the forward area, but they have Yaroslav Askarov, who I believe can be a better goaltender than, say, Spencer Knight. People will go back to his last World Juniors and be like, well, he didn't. Yeah, yes, but he does have the ability to carry the team. So I think that as far as the pool goes, right, that's USA's biggest competition.
Man, I'm looking at Canada's roster right now, and I'm just in awe.
Yeah.
I mean, these are all seemingly first-round picks. I'll be honest, I don't know the goalies very well. But, if they're backstopping Canada, they're good, obviously.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, that's probably the one area, right, where there's a little bit more uncertainty. But, look at that defense. I think they'll be fine.
So, Nat, what are you looking at? Your expectations when it comes to Cam York and Bobby Brink here in the World Junior Championships?
At the bare minimum, I'm hoping for competency from the two. But, ideally, you want them to contribute as much as possible to Team USA. Now, you mentioned that the rest of Team USA is basically Los Angeles Kings prospects. Well, let's take some of the thunder away from the Kings prospects and let's transition some of the spotlight over to Bobby Brink and Cam York, because that's what we want as Flyers fans. We want them to go lights out at World Juniors. And here's the thing. This is the world's biggest stage, or at least hockey's biggest stage right now. When it comes to college hockey, I mean, not everyone is a college hockey fan. But the vast majority of NHL fans, at least right now, are going to watch World Juniors because it's the closest thing to professional hockey that they're going to watch right now, especially with the NHL about to start, or at least hopefully about to start and turn the corner here. This is the world's biggest stage, and we want to see Cam York and Bobby Brink perform under that kind of pressure. It's one thing to perform at the college level, but how are you going to be able to perform in this tremendous tournament? I'm hoping great things from these guys. I'm not expecting too much, but ideally you want them to perform extremely well at that level.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't agree more. I think this brings us to the third and final prospect that the Flyers have taking part in WJC. We have Emil Andre. Mm-hmm. And again, pronunciation is not my strong suit, but can you tell us a little bit about Emil here and let us know kind of what you're expecting when it comes to his play here during the tournament?
Well, so it's interesting because I feel like if you look up scouting reports for Emil Andre, they could not be more conflicting. Some people love this guy. Other people think that he is just a flashy player with nothing else to him. You just search his name on Twitter, you get all these great highlights. He really knows how to make some phenomenal plays, but he does lack a little bit in kind of the fundamental area of hockey. That being said, he's kind of holding his own in the SHL, which is not an easy league to play in. Mm-hmm. When it comes to his participation in the World Junior team, It also gets a little interesting because Sweden has had a lot of players not be able to make this tournament due to COVID. Even before they came over to Edmonton, I feel like it was a handful of players. Some coaches had it, and they could no longer participate. So I do think that possibly his role will be a little bit larger than what I expected. I kind of viewed him as more of like a bottom six guy that you put in offensive situations as far as power play. If you notice that there's a lot of offensive pressure that you're able to kind of push the other team around, and you're getting a lot of more opportunities in the offensive zone. He's somebody that you stick in there. But considering things, he might end up playing a larger role on this team. And like I said, Sweden to me is always one of those teams that you should expect to contend for a medal. But it's strange this year because the team that they expected to bring isn't the team that they're bringing. So it's really up in the air.
I mean, just at a quick glance with some of his stats, I'm looking at his stats from the SHL last year and this year. He's got 3 assists in 30 games total. But you also look at his international tournament on the U18 team last year. He had 12 points in 13 games. So to me, at least in my limited knowledge, that looks like he's doing extremely well against players his age, which should be expected. But then he gets to a higher level of play and he struggles a little bit, which could be part of the course because, again, he's a prospect. He's young. I think he's 18, 19. He's 18 years old. 5'9", 181. Size isn't, a terrible concern. 181's a good weight to be at. 5'9's right. Not the greatest, but, there's shorter players that are doing phenomenal at the NHL level. So in a way, I'm expecting Andre to maybe, honestly, depending on how the blue line really does shape up for the U.S., I might expect Andre to kind of perform better than York just because of his circumstances surrounding Team Sweden, what's going on with that, the players that couldn't make it, and just seeing his success at a level where he plays against players his age and at his, you could argue, skill level. Maybe Andre just comes out and plays flat. Maybe he comes out and blows the roof off the place. But I kind of expect him almost to outperform York just because, again, he also is on a stronger blue line, in my opinion. Victor Soderstrom, sure. Tobias Bjornfot, Philip Broberg as well. You've got a lot of NHL prospects on that blue line for Sweden.
Well, that's what I was going to kind of say to feed off of what you were saying, where it was like he could perform better because his defensive unit is stronger, and sometimes you're better when the sum of your parts is better. But I think for Flyers fans, right, this is our real first chance to take a look at this guy. I mean, watching Swedish hockey is somewhat difficult. So this is an opportunity for us to be able to, see what we have. So even if he doesn't play phenomenally, at least we get to kind of see him a little bit easierly.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm so tired.
More easily.
Sure.
We'll give you a pass there.
Thanks.
What are you thinking, Nat? Your expectations here with Andre?
See, I'm with you, Derek. You almost want him to outperform Cam York, especially because I think if he does outperform Cam York, then I think it'll be a little bit of a wake-up call for York, saying, oh, I'm going to have to fight with this guy in order to crack the NHL roster here, because it is not guaranteed that I make the Flyers defensive pairings. It's not a guarantee. Now, I'm not expecting much from Emil Andre. That's mostly because I don't know a whole lot about Emil Andre, but yeah, you want him, especially under the circumstances, to blow the roof off the place. I understand that it might not entirely be possible with Team Sweden. I don't think Team Sweden is as strong as they were, I believe it was 3 years ago when they had, who was it? Rasmus Dahlin.
Sandin?
Yeah, no, Dahlin.
Dahlin. Not Sandin.
Right, Dahlin.
The other Aiden.
Yeah, too many Rasmuses in the league.
Too many Aidens.
Yes. Yeah, I don't think they're as strong as they were.
Sandin.
Yeah, but I don't think they were as strong as they were when they had Rasmus Dahlin and Elias Anderson 3 years ago. But hopefully this will be a tremendous opportunity for Emil Andre to I don't know, shatter our expectations a little bit and be another dark horse prospect for the Philadelphia Flyers. I can't wait to see what he can contribute for Team Sweden, especially because I haven't seen any of his play, and this is going to be the first real opportunity that we get to see that, being non-Swedish residents.
Right. Hey, and real quick to kind of stick with the Sweden thing, if you're somebody who's just interested in prospects in general, in net, Jesper Wallstedt is the Yaroslav Askarov of this year. He is a goalie that they're expecting could go in the top 10 of this upcoming draft in 2021. So I'm really interested to see that first Russia-Sweden game. I would love for it to be 0-0 going into like the final 2 minutes, just because these two are standing on their head. And I mean, on top of that, Sweden's in the same group, right, Derek? Do you still have it up as the U.S. and Russia?
I don't have that up. They are in the same group as the U.S. I know that for sure. Yeah.
So Russia's in there too. I mean, right there, You're talking about 3 teams with fantastic goaltending. So, we could be talking about all this great forward depth and all that, and the goalies might just steal this group.
Yeah, it's true. That's very true. I mean, you run the risk of that when you have guys with the caliber of Spencer Knight, Askarov, Wallstedt as well.
Yep. So, I mean, and if you want to tie a bow on the World Juniors, I do have some picks for you if you're interested.
Oh,
I'm very interested. I think we should hear you out here with these picks. What are we talking?
So, I'm talking gold, silver, and bronze. I don't see anybody beating Canada. I really don't. I think that Canada's going to walk away with gold. I think that silver becomes a toss-up. I think it's Russia and the United States are the 2 teams that are kind of in contention for second best. And I tend to pick against Russia just because in the past Russia seems to underperform. I don't know if that's nice, but it's just seems to be the case.
Do you think they get over the hump this time around?
I don't. I think that it's going to be
Tampa Bay Lightning of the World Junior Championships.
I think it's going to be Canada and the U.S. in the gold medal game. I think that Canada is going to beat the U.S. Then you'll have silver will go to the United States, and then Russia will take bronze.
Well, Derek brings up an excellent point that they could be the Tampa Bay Lightning of the World Juniors. So, which begs me to ask: at the World Junior Championships, will any fans be there at all?
No.
Then maybe they might get over the hump this time around, because I think no fans plays a part in that.
You're right. And listen, man, I wouldn't be shocked if Russia wins. I mean, to me, right there, those are your 3 teams that could possibly win gold. I think that Sweden has lost too much. I don't think Finland has enough. And the other teams are more of just ones that are going to cause a little havoc, which the team that I think is going to cause some havoc is the Czech Republic this year. I think that they're going to beat one of the teams that feels like they're in contention and make it a little bit more difficult for them.
Who's their goalie? Jan Bednar?
Yes.
Or is that? Yeah. See, I again, in my very limited knowledge of prospects, I know that Bednar is a pretty solid goalie. Prospect for Detroit. So, yeah, that could be an interesting one. I mean, imagine the Czech Republic going on a run and kind of spoiling one of these guys' opening round, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Bo is on that. Now, as we've done for the past month, it feels like, we've got some more discussion to address with the NHL returning to play. There's been some news coming out about what's going to happen, and it's actually, to my knowledge, it's been made official. And I want to pull this tweet up from Pierre LeBrun. He tweeted out earlier today around, I want to say, 10 o'clock this morning on Sunday, recapping the puck drop will be January 13th. The trade deadline will be April 12th. End of the regular season will be May 8th. So then you have the expansion draft, which was just announced. The teams have to submit their lists of protected players by the 17th of July. The expansion draft itself will be happening on the 21st of July. 2 days later will be the NHL draft. And then free agency starts July 28th. And then Pierre added in on the 29th. He's going up to his cottage.
Oh, good for Pierre.
Yeah, very well-deserved break. right? The compound, baby.
Nah, can you make that happen? Can we get a cottage? Throw that on the list.
I need to get paid more for that. I just went from free to free plus, so I need another raise here.
Yo, this is how you earn your money, man.
Plus,
You hook us up with a cottage. We'll knock it up to plus plus plus. How about that?
I better be getting some interest with that too.
All right. So, in other words, we have a tentative plan in place for the NHL to return to play. The dates are set, it looks like, as well. Ryan Rishaug from TSN tweeted out, quote, league source says at this point, the British Columbian government remains unwilling to allow NHL teams to travel into the province for games. That may change as discussions continue, but remains their position as of now, even with the added safety protocols outlined today, being Saturday, by Frank Saravalli. So therein lies the big problem that needs to be addressed. With the 7 Canadian teams, the Canadian division has been discussed as a possibility and will likely be the possibility. But because it's a province by province case, so right. Alberta, Ontario, they all have to do this separately. So Toronto may be allowed to play in Toronto, and it's okay. Health officials deem it okay. But Edmonton and Calgary might not be able to because their province says it's not okay. With that, there's talk about moving the Canadian teams to the U.S. and playing in a city in the United States. That way they're allowed to. It's just a matter of, you'd have to really figure out the divisions after that, because then are you going to do an all-Canadian division? If one team can't play in Canada, maybe they're moving them to another province, and that was discussed as well. So what's the likely scenario here for you, John? Let's not talk like, is Canada going to allow these teams to play?
Right.
But let's play hypothetical instead. One province says that they're not going to allow their hockey team to play in that province. Is the NHL moving every single team to the U.S., or are they going to try to relocate to another province within Canada?
Well, the human side of me really hopes that that's not the case, because I know that, crossing the border is pretty impossible. What about these people and their families? It's like, oh, you're going to come down here and play in the States, but, you're going to be away from your family. And to ask that of some and not all of them, I don't know. That kind of rubs me the wrong way a little bit.
I'm with you there.
And maybe there's a way, and I don't really know this, so please don't hold me to this, but if you have to move Vancouver a little further east, is there a way where they're not so far away when they're not playing, they can still see their families? I'm imagining it's not like the border is shut down. They just don't want to play hockey there. So I'm more of a fan of doing that, right? Taking Vancouver and moving them a little bit closer to everyone else out of their province so they can play. I don't like the idea of taking 7 teams and relocating them to the United States, just because that's a big chunk of the NHL. It's a big chunk of your players. And I feel like you're forcing them to almost be in that bubble, type play, while not having the others have to do that.
Yeah. And this also raises the question as well. If you're looking at these 7 teams and you're thinking, okay, maybe playing in Canada isn't going to happen. Is this all, and again, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here, but is this reason to potentially cancel the AHL season? Because you're going to need rinks. You're going to need to put these Canadian teams, if they're coming to the U.S., in a rink, and they're not going to be able, likely, to share a rink with another team. So moving Winnipeg to a city like Iowa, and playing in the Iowa Wilds arena, moving Vancouver to Seattle. Because Seattle's literally right across the border there. I'm assuming they've got a rink there if they're going to have a hockey team joining the league in less than a year. Toronto could go to Cleveland. There's so many different cities you could work with here. It's going to take some finagling, obviously, but, is that a realistic possibility with the AHL not playing, moving these teams to an AHL arena? Because no fans, you're not going to have to worry about attendance, because these arenas are noticeably smaller.
Right. Honestly, man, I don't see a way where they don't share arenas. I feel like that's bound to happen. I don't think that they want to cancel the AHL season for numerous reasons. But even if you were to, move an NHL team to play in an AHL arena, they'll probably share it with that AHL team. I don't think there's a way to escape that aspect of it if that's really what they have to do.
Yeah. What do you think, Nat? I mean, what are you making of all of these announcements and what's happening lately?
Man, I have a lot of thoughts on this. I think there's just so many variables with everything going on right now. I mean, I was listening to Hockey Central, and one thing they were talking about, were the vaccinations, and can you even can you force all of the players to get vaccinated? Is this going to cause a bunch of disputes among the players, not between the owners and the NHLPA, but amongst the players themselves, because the NHL is such a diverse league. I mean, you have players coming from literally all over the world, and everyone has different mindsets on this. Is this going to create workers' comp issues? So with the schedules and the return to play, the AHL, potentially returning, but also potentially having to cancel their season. There's just so many variables going into this that I don't like. I want to be an optimist when it comes to all this, but there's so much on my mind when it comes to getting over all of these hurdles that they have to go through. I mean, as much as I want the AHL, the ECHL, and especially the NHL to come back, there's just, man, they have to really, really sort everything out here.
Yeah, we're still in the stages where there's a lot of logistics to figure out, and that was expected, because with a return to play this precarious, everything needs to be by the book, and they're kind of still determining what that book is at this point. To tell you the truth, man, I don't know what to make of this. I don't know what I'm assuming. Obviously, there will be some type of contingency plan in place, but we don't even know where it starts. We don't know if these Canadian teams are going to be able to play at home. We don't know if the teams that aren't going to be able to play at home are willing to relocate to a city in the U.S. to play hockey. Are we going to go down the road of having a season where a team or two isn't going to take part?
No.
Is that even a possibility?
No.
No,
yeah, no.
I know I'm on the opposite side. I think there is a possibility that can happen. I think there is a strong possibility you can have not necessarily an entire team opt out, but what if you have a certain amount of players that opt out? What if that happens? What if it's star players too?
Yeah.
What if a Claude Giroux opts out for the Flyers? I mean, it is a possibility. What if, we're talking a Nathan McKinnon, a Sidney Crosby, a big, high-profile player saying, nope, not going to do it. Think Connor McDavid. If Edmonton, let's say Alberta comes out and says, we can't have the Oilers playing in Edmonton, is Connor McDavid then going to say, I don't want to play far away from my family? I think he only has a girlfriend, but nonetheless, it's, to him, it's family. Is he going to come out and say, nope, not going to do it? Draisaitl, those types of guys. It's a concern. It's absolutely a concern. But, they're going to be walking a fine line with this, especially if you're asking a team to move away from home when they were already under the assumption that they were going to be able to play in their home arena.
Well, that's the thing, man. I don't think anybody wants to do anything close to similar to the playoff bubble. I really feel like a lot of the players were sick of that, and I think that played a role in Niskanen's retirement. I just think that the idea of possibly having to do that this season was just so unappealing to him. But I'm going to go with this thought process that we're going to have hockey just because I can't keep thinking about all the possibilities and my brain starts to hurt. Until they say, no, we're shutting it down, I'm just going to look forward to the idea that there's hockey and this idea that people should stop predicting what this season is going to look like as far as on-ice talent right now. You have no idea what this year is going to look like. This will be the year that, Ottawa makes it to the playoffs because it's just going to be we're living in the upside down. You don't know who's going to
expand the playoffs to 30 teams, though. Come on, let's be real.
But if there were ever a year where it's just crazy crap like that's going to happen, this will be it. Just because you never know, man. You don't know who's going to opt out. You don't know what the rust factor is going to be. It'll be interesting. So I think that people need to really be careful with kind of their predictions and projections of the like.
You're right. I mean,
I know.
again, this is extremely difficult to predict because we can't speak for health officials. We can't speak for anybody involved with the NHL making any types of decisions. So the best thing we can do is kind of just strap in and hope that there's going to be a season with as little amount of hitches as possible. You know, it's a difficult one, obviously, but we're kind of hoping for it.
Right.
Now, let's wrap that up, and hopefully we don't really ever have to talk about this stuff again because frankly, I'm getting sick and tired of this.
Ditto.
Derek, now, you guys ever seen the movie Blazing Saddles?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I know, I'm sure somebody will go out there and say how awful it is, and I get it. Yeah, it's very, very culturally wrong. But you know that song, I'm so tired of playing the game. And shame. I'm so tired. I just wanted to say that really quick because I have no idea what you guys are saying half the time. I'm just like, huh? What?
I mean, at least John's
everything below the hairline is kaput.
Well, should we save?
Well, look.
Should we save the Pacioretty talk for later then?
No,
or?
let's Pacioretty it up, baby. Woo!
All right, and this is just going to be quick because there's really no substance to any rumors or talk about this. But Jonathan Marchessault, and Max Pacioretty from the Vegas Golden Knights have become available, according to, I believe it was Jesse Granger with The Athletic. There was some disputes with it. It was nice seeing a certain ESPN hockey reporter get fed by, I think it was Saravalli, on that topic. That was kind of nice to see. But anyways, I digress.
Philly's own.
Yes, Philly's own. Is there a way for the Flyers to bring either or of these guys over? And if there is a way, what's involved?
No. There is no way. Wait, I'm not done. Hey,
I thought you were just going to give us a simple no here. My apologies. Proceed.
Apology accepted. No, there is no way because what do the Flyers don't have cap room to begin with. So you'd have to get rid of Ghost or JVR, and that's becoming really
more than Vegas, though.
Okay, you still have to get rid of Ghost or JVR, and that's becoming really easy to do, right? I mean, if they could have got rid of Ghost, they would have by now. No one's really going to take on JVR's contract, and you can't trade them to Vegas because that kind of negates what they're trying to do here. Would Marchessault or Pacioretty be great for the Flyers? Oh, I'm sure they would. It's just not realistic. It's not there's not a match there.
How about you, Nat?
Well, Derek, you actually wrote an article saying that you would have to throw in Scott Laughton in there too. Also, John, wait. So, weren't we saving James Van Riemsdyk for the Seattle Kraken? You mean the Seattle Kraken aren't going to take James Van Riemsdyk? What?
Well, I mean, and even if they do, that doesn't help us with the Pacioretty thing. Or the Marchessault thing.
Like Seattle would ever take JVR anyway.
Well, you got to throw in a first-round pick and a... Never mind. Actually, not going to say what I was just about to say.
Oh. We're going to get in trouble, aren't we?
That was going to be, yeah. Nope, that was going to be bad for even me.
So Nat brings up really the only conceivable way for this deal to go down. And I'm not talking Pacioretty. Pacioretty is not happening. It's just not feasible with that cap hit. Jonathan Marchessault could end up a Flyer, and the only way for that to happen is for Scott Laughton to be a part of that deal. And I say a part because Vegas would look at a one-for-one deal and laugh. Nothing against Scott Laughton. The Flyers would have to send picks their way. Maybe multiple picks. I don't think a first-round pick in Scott Laughton is the greatest deal for the Flyers to make.
Right.
But maybe that's what it takes. I don't know. Marchessault's still somewhat young. He, puts up 20 to 25 goals a year. That's, he could play in a bottom six role. I think he's pretty versatile to my knowledge. I think he plays both center and wing. Again, I don't have my article pulled up, so, wasn't ready. Oh, well. But regardless, still don't think either of these deals happen. There's no need for this deal to happen. And I think Vegas, honestly, would be better suited dealing a guy like Fleury.
Yeah. Well, except Robin Leonard, isn't he hurt or he had to get surgery or something along those lines?
He might have, but sure,
I'm pretty sure that's why they're holding
for the first couple games and then get back to Leonard.
I don't know. The whole Vegas management thing is weird.
Like
you can't stay on part of that team. It's like grab your partner round and round, make sure that he don't fall down. I mean, it's like, we love you, we don't love you, we love you, we don't love you, we love you, we don't love you. Oh, there's a bigger shiny new thing. Trade you, see ya. And it's like the third or fourth season. Third season.
It's like third. It's like middle school relationships.
Yeah, you're right.
Like why are they shopping Max Pacioretty when he basically just had a career year with them? To me, that makes no sense.
Well, they signed
he didn't have a good playoffs.
They signed Pietrangelo with no cap room. Yeah. It's like, don't worry, somebody will help us out. Now, what happens if they don't reach the salary cap? Like, what happens? Does somebody lose a firstborn child, or what's the deal?
I think that's it. I think the highest paid player loses their firstborn. Right. Maybe they'll have to make it work somehow, obviously, but maybe somebody gets sent down to the AHL.
Yeah, but I think they'll be penalized by the league. I think they only have so long until they have to get to the cap or something happens. I don't know what that something is.
I really do think the best option is to send somebody down to the AHL, because in that way, I mean, we save money by sending Andrew McDonald down. I think they could send I'm not privy with their roster, but they could send somebody down to relieve them of. It's almost $1 million that they're over. So pick a guy on $1 million contract, send him down. Say, sorry, pal, you're just a cap casualty.
Yep.
All right. I mean, yeah, that's the bow on that. Now we get to the Pod Street pop off. It is Nat's week to pop off. I feel like Nat is loaded and ready to roll.
Let's do this.
I'm going to roll into this first one, and we'll start the timer after I'm done reading this first one, because it is a tweet, and I'm going to read it verbatim.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Quote, names and buzzwords I do not want to hear for the rest of the week to preserve my sanity. Quarterback controversy, DK Metcalf, JJ Arcega-Whiteside, Carson Wentz, Jason Peters, Justin Jefferson, and Donovan McNabb. End quote. Go.
Oh, boy. Fortunately, this week, I've avoided hearing most of those names and buzzwords. I don't know how I managed to do that, but somehow I was able to preserve my sanity for the week. But leading up to this week, and when I made that tweet, I was being driven insane by the amount of calls I was getting, just bringing up all the time. They drafted Arcega-Whiteside and missed on Metcalf. Every caller said that. I was like, oh, really? Like, is this breaking news? They took Metcalf over Arcega-Whiteside? Get the hell out of here. No, really. And then, people were complaining about, Donovan McNabb never got as much hate as Wentz when he should have. And then people were saying, he did get as much hate as Carson Wentz said. He should have gotten more hate on top of that. And there's a quarterback controversy going on right now. Everyone, just stop with all of that. I get that there's
never gonna happen.
You're right. Also, it's my pop off, John.
I'm sorry.
Ooh, you're docked pay for the week, John.
Yep. No, we're docking his pay.
We're talking your pay.
Yeah. Hey, no, Doc John's pay. It goes to my paycheck.
Getting lippy with the co-host.
This is his pop-off, and you pulled that the other week.
You're wasting his pop-off right now.
I'll dock my pay as well. Proceed, Nat.
But yeah, can we just focus on the Eagles-Cardinals game, or whatever the aftermath is going to be? I feel like that's the more prevalent thing going on right now, and how Jalen Hurts is actually giving this team a shot. That, to me, is what Eagles fans should be talking about. Anyway, I'm ready for the next topic.
All right, next topic. Flyers-Bruins being the most underrated rivalry in hockey.
Dude.
State your case.
I state my case. Okay, so When was the last time you watched a bad Flyers-Bruins game?
The last game they played because the Flyers lost.
That wasn't a terrible game. I mean, like the Flyers were coming off. They were coming off, winning 10 in a row, and so it was inevitable they were going to lose at some point. And of course, like it had to be Flyers-Bruins. Every time I've gone to a Flyers-Bruins game, it's always been one of the better games that I've watched that season. That to me is like you're almost always going to get an entertaining game out of Flyers-Bruins. Sometimes there are, I'm not going to go that far, but yeah, I think that is the most underrated rivalry in the NHL. And yeah, we hear about the Battle of Alberta all the time. Obviously, Flyers-Penguins is always going to get a lot of love, but yeah, not enough love to Flyers-Bruins.
All right, fair point. Cyberpunk 2077.
How are we still at a point in video games where we're releasing broken games? The game is literally broken. I mean, I thought Sea of Thieves was the worst video game of all time. That at least was a functioning game. Even though it had literally no content, it was a functioning game. Cyberpunk 2077 supposedly has one of the best stories in gaming right now, but it's not a functional game. Like, how is it a company as revered as CD Projekt Red, you have the Witcher games. The Witcher 3 is one of the greatest video games of all time. And then they release Cyberpunk 2077 broken. Like, whatever happened to, you have your N64, you put Super Mario 64 in. It's literally the same game 20 plus years later, and it's still an amazing game 20 plus years later. And it came out a functioning game. You mean to tell me 20 plus years later, broken video games are being released on next-gen consoles? What? Why are we doing this?
What's Cyberpunk 2027?
Enraging.
Wawa
That's what it
drive-through.
Wawa drive-through?
Yep.
Someone get me Wawa drive-through to prove to me it's real. It's that guys. Here's the thing. Women say guys only want one thing, and it's disgusting. Girl, all we want is Wawa drive-through. That's all we wanted. Like, seriously, especially in the days of the corona. Like, I refuse to go inside Wawa now because I'm too afraid, with the amount of people that go in and out of there, I'm too afraid I'm going to get Rona for Wawa. Like, someone I knew, to me, that's the only place he could have gotten coronavirus from. Going to Wawa, because that's the only place he ever goes. Literally the only place. Actually, 2 people I know got coronavirus from Wawa. So, yeah, Wawa drive-thru, highly approve.
All right. Next one. What is your beef with Bobby Clark?
Okay, my beef with Bobby Clark is that I think he ruined Eric Lindros's career. And I think Lindros potentially could have been better than Gretzky if Bob Clark knew what concussions were and how to handle it. Now, granted, different time, I will give him the benefit of the doubt there. But he kind of more or less ruined Eric Lindros's career. So that is my main beef with Bob Clark.
All right. I would love to explore that further. But for now, the last pop-off segment, Henrik Lundqvist.
I think I only have like 15 seconds here, so I'll keep it short, sweet, and to the point. Much love and respect to King Henrik. Great goalie, even though he played for the Rangers. I got to give my best wishes to him.
Sexy AF,
yes.
too.
Dude, like,
good looking fella.
God, he's beautiful.
He's hot, man. He's a hot goalie.
He is.
All right. That is the end of the pop-off. We might have went over there, but it's all right. Anyways, John, before we go, please let everybody know where they can find us.
Yeah, right. That I struggle to do that on a good day. You can find us on anywhere that you listen to podcasts. All right, that's about as good as you're getting right now.
There you go. Visit the website as well, Pod SD Bullies. You can find a player there that you can listen to us on the website. Nat, let the folks know where they can find you.
So you can find me on Twitter at Nat, spelled N-A-T, _Marlowe, M-A-R-L-O-W-E. I'm a producer at 97.5 The Fanatic, the Sixers podcast, Full Court Press, and of course, Pod Street Bullies. And you can find me on LinkedIn as well, where we'll be sharing our work from podstreetbullies.com. And You can also see my sexy new headshots courtesy from Heather Berry. So, quick thank you to Heather.
Beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful, Nat. You can find me on Twitter at PodStreetBob. You can find John on Twitter at PodStreetGove. Nat already told you, we're signing off for the week, but I'm going to leave you, as I've always left you, with a Let's Go Flyers.
Bye now.